It's times like this where you're seeing everything you want to see. It seems like the stars are aligning. The banking crisis, the this, the that. It's all coming due for gold and silver. Prices are through the roof. Times like this, you need to think ahead. It's definitely not going to stay this way. So where do you want to be moving forward? Well, the answer is probably going to surprise you and probably piss you off. So first and foremost, again, we've seen it time and time again with prices running up for bullion. But this one's been a big move. Make no mistake, from where prices were in late October to where they are now, that's a huge difference in spot price. Now, there are many stackers who say spot price doesn't matter. Yes and no. I mean, it clearly matters, but of course, you pay a premium. Everybody's got to make their cut along the way for the bullion that you and I stack. Great. Now, obviously, the cheaper you can get it, the better, but that's not always the way it works out. Now, the other thing that you're hearing is, again, with all the banking issues, you're hearing about there's going to be a dollar crisis, a financial system crisis, this, that, the other thing. Again, there's always something to be concerned about, right? There's always things that come up, but here's the part that nobody's thinking about, and here's the part that nobody's factoring in because they don't trust the data. Now, what am I talking about? Well, we saw today that the jobs numbers for this past month were actually pretty strong. 200,000 plus jobs created, added to payrolls. It's a pretty big move, but again, for the people that don't understand how these numbers work, what they're, what seasonally adjusted and blah, 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 what all these things are, it is complicated, make no mistake, which again, anytime something is too complex for like the normal person to understand, then they just attribute it to voodoo. It's all fake. It's not real. Okay, again, is there elements of, not correct information in there? Of course. Why? Because it's made by rank and file government employees. I mean, the reality is when you look at how these things work, the jobs numbers, the GDP, anything else, there's estimates and then there's whatever comes in. Now, if you really look at the payrolls, most of the time the economists are way off. Isn't that interesting? But it is what it is. The other part with the data is that, again, the data is adjusted in hindsight up or down depending on, whatever the data shows as time goes on. So to someone looking at, these types of numbers and trying to understand what's going on there, first you're saying, oh, I don't trust the data because insert X, Y, Z here. I don't like Joe Biden. I like Trump. I don't like Trump. I like Joe Biden. Whatever the heck it is, whatever reason you have of like not trusting the data. Okay, so there's that. But also when you couple that with the fact that the data changes in hindsight regularly, then you can definitely understand how people are skeptical of the data that comes out. But that being the case, again, it's the data that we have. So we have to make decisions based on that data. Whether you think it's fake or not, it is what it is. Now, moving forward, here's the big thing. Gold, silver prices have spiked, right? So you're big time watching those markets where, trying to see what you want to buy. Do you want to buy at these prices? Do you want to sell? Ooh, that's a dirty word in the stocking community. Or you're thinking about what's next. The rise in gold and silver, it's not going to stick around. It never does. As, your eyes get starry, you start to see that move up and then it really starts to gain steam like it does right now. And then something happens and it plummets back down. Now, there was a small move today, back in the southerly direction. Not a big deal at all. I mean, realistically, it can be right back near the high again. But is it the start of something moving forward? It could be. One of the big things that I think people miss out on, you've all heard, or at least I hope you've all heard the mantra, don't fight the Fed. Now, one of the things last year is the market could not fight the Fed last year. For all the things that could have pushed the market, remember, last year was a 50-year high for corporate profits. So if the economy reflected the stock market, last year stocks should have been through the roof, but they weren't. Why? Well, again, we had inflation, we had interest rates going up, we had liquidity drying up, and all of those things together caused the market to go down. People say, don't fight the Fed, don't fight the Fed, don't fight the Fed, but they forget the lesson of don't fight the Fed. Don't fight the Fed on the way down and don't fight the Fed on the way up either. Here's the thing. So many people right now, especially with this whole gold and silver thing, again, the first things they go to are the demise of the dollar and the, CBDC or this and that. The thing is, they don't understand how strong the dollar is. I mean, really, right? Isn't that kind of sacrilegious in the stocking community? What do you mean the dollar's strong? It's a piece of crap. It's worthless paper that's backed by nothing. You're right. You're right. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. But here's the part you're not factoring in. Again, at the end of the day, it is the best dirty shirt in the hamper. It is the one that the world trusts, for better or for worse, as we speak, to do business in. But the BRICS nations are a joke. They were a joke on the front end. They've been talking about it for 30 years that they're going to come up with the competitor. We're still not there. It's kind of like Elon Musk and full self-driving. You keep saying it, you keep saying it, you keep saying it. People are going to keep chanting it as if it's going to come true, which it might someday. But is it anytime soon? Probably not. It's a crazy world. And the reason I mention it is because, like I said, when headlines come out in a positive way for the BRICS nation of whatever garbage they're trying to do, people get all excited. This is it. The BRICS are going to take over. It's going to be the next thing. It's really not. What you don't read, well, first of all, we know you don't read, because if you read it, extensively, you would realize that they've been trying this experiment for a long time. And the reality is there's just nothing there. Russia's a garbage economy. China, they're trying their best, but their economy is very, very volatile. And again, who knows what really is their economy, because all the information that comes out of there is censored. So who knows? It's kind of like behind the black curtain. Brazil, a lot of resources, economically, not a powerhouse. Not yet anyway, but they're probably the most interesting of all of them. And then you have India, the perennial up-and-comer. But you look at these things down in the comment or down in the description. I'm going to leave a link to an article about the BRICS nations and like the things that they're doing. That shows these guys just can't get it together. No matter how much they try, it really just isn't in the cards. It's very difficult to get that type of cooperation. The reality is you're taking 4 very different economies and trying to meld them together into some type of currency union to rival the dominant player. Now, again, many people are going to say the U.S. is garbage, our money's garbage, blah, 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 blah. Part of that is correct. It kind of is really true, right? That's the whole point of stocking, to have physical assets and, get yourself out of the paper currency. But the reality is that when you look at the power of the paper currency, there's a lot there. There certainly is a lot there. And that's what I mean about looking at what the next step is going to be. The dollar may be the next dominant thing to be in. Crazy, right? Crazy to think about, especially after the year that we just had. When you think about the year that we just had with the inflation and the dollar, losing value year over year in a big way. Why would you want to be in that? Why would you want to be in something like that? Well, again, it all comes back to that mantra. Don't fight the Fed. One of the other things that, again, is falling through the cracks right now is that the Fed said they're going to start buybacks on assets. What does that mean? What does it mean when the Fed buys back assets? It means that they're going to create liquidity. It means that cash is going to funnel into the system. What happens when cash funnels into the system? Well, it's got to find a place to chase return. Whether that's stocks, whether that's crypto, whether it's real estate, whether it's whatever. The more cash that comes into the system, the more it's going to make certain asset classes rise. But again, things like this, which are the fear play, those aren't going to be the natural place for that cash to flow. Stocks, that kind of stuff, yes, because the returns there are better than what you're going to get from metals. Now, some of you are thinking, well, didn't metals just jump 20% and blah, blah, blah? They did. But remember, they were down last year more than the stock market at points. So it's more of a rebound than anything, than really like that they're going to the moon. You can hold your breath for a long time waiting for silver and gold to go to the moon. In that time, at least you'll have a physical asset. But, again, the whole point of investing, or even just having money in general, is to keep that value over time, which, make no mistake, metals did not hold their value through the inflation that we just went through. If the mantras were true, metals should have gained quite a bit in value. They didn't. Okay. there's that. Did it keep up with inflation? No, it didn't. Even with this latest bump, no, it didn't. Because when you look at where it was before the downturn to now, no. The whole inflation narrative for metals, long term. And again, that may be a longer term than you have, or that you're willing to stay with metals. Great. But the hard part, like I said, is thinking of outside the box and getting outside the narrow view of like what this is and, you know, how you're going to handle it. When you're seeing everything you want to see, like metals going through the roof right now, you really have to ask yourself, like, is it sustainable? Is metal going to go, is silver in particular going to keep going up? Probably not. There's an invisible hand there that keeps it within a range. Now, can it pop up? I mean, clearly it can. It's had a big run. But is it going to stay like that? Probably not. So where's your money going to go after that? Well, great. When the price goes down, I'm going to keep stacking. That works for established stackers. That is the mantra of established stackers. When price goes up, they stop buying. When price goes down, they start buying again. That is how you stack metals. I mean, there's just no way around it. The problem is that, again, for newer stackers, you don't know that. You've been told that this only goes up, that, oh, it's going to be, you know, give it a year or two, you know, it's going to go to the moon. You don't know that that's not how it works. I mean, it's better to have some than none. But definitely it's not something where you're going to look at it and say, oh my God, I tripled up on it. I 10x'd my silver. No. And if you did, that would be a huge problem. We'd all have huge problems if that happened. Again, people don't think these things through and ask themselves, like, is it really realistic? No, it's not. So what is the next thing? What is the next asset to be putting your money into? You know, stackers aren't running to crypto. Okay. They're not going to run to the CBDC. Okay, so where are you going to go? Well, cash might be the answer. Why? Because, again, you have to take the other side of the stacker mentality. Right now, so many stackers are looking at things and saying, you know, this is a crappy economy, blah, blah, blah. It's going to go to recession. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. You could be right. But remember, if you're saying that, what happens to assets during a recession? They lose value. People aren't spending money. Money isn't chasing assets anymore. So the price of these goes down. Okay, if that's the case and you know that and you truly believe that, why aren't you stacking cash? Why aren't you getting ready for the next big drop? If you really believe that things are as bad as you say, you should be stacking cash hand over fist. Forget all the, oh, it's not worth, you know, it's a long-term losing value. Even short-term, it's a losing value. You could be right. But if there's a real full-blown recession, which is not likely, these guys are going to lose much more than the dollar will. The dollar will gain in strength. Why? Again, people don't get that at the end of the day, the dollar is the fear tool. It is the mechanism that people run to in times of fear. People don't run to silver and gold. They run to cash. Once they have enough cash, they may go and buy silver and gold. But they're not running first to silver and gold. They're not locking up all their money. They're not locking up their emergency fund inside silver and gold. Why? Because that would be dumb, first of all. But also, again, whether we like it or not, cash is here to stay. So if you think things are going to get worse, you better be stacking dollars. You better be stacking them hand over fist, because it's a lot stronger than you think it is. And secondly, the mechanism to increase its strength is right around the corner. One change in Fed policy, boom, you're going to see the strength of the dollar go through the roof. Why would you not want that to be able to take advantage of falling metals prices? Why would you want to hold on and just ride the roller coaster? It's very difficult for lots of stackers to see that, okay, this ride it out mentality is the same thing that people have with stocks. But if stocks were, you know, going up and down by 20+%, they'd be freaking out. They'd be like, I don't trust the market. I hate this. It's all fake. It's all managed. But when it happens to metals, it's like, okay, I'm going to buy on the lows and I'm going to just wait it out on the highs. Okay. Think about these things now, because in this game, the only thing you don't get back is time.